Saturday, June 6, 2015. This is Mercedes Diesel Guy, and this is my 1998 Volvo V70. I'm going to be doing some work on the rear suspension today. For a while now, we've been driving this car, and we would notice a clunk over bumps. And I checked everything in the front suspension, it seemed fine, and eventually I traced it to the rear suspension. Specifically, the rear delta link or rear suspension end link. I have the wheel off here. Got the car supported by jack stands, and we're looking at this piece right here. Now, once again, this is a front wheel drive model, so I don't know how the all-wheel drive models will differ, but I get the wheel off here for better access. And here's, for lack of knowing the right term, the rear suspension arm. And this end piece here is replaceable. Now you can see the ball joint in there. This whole thing should be encased in rubber. And what's happening is, over bumps, this piece is just going up and down and clunking. And I imagine it's also causing alignment issues, so I'm going to be replacing these pieces today. Now there's actually not too much holding this onto the car. There's this bolt right here, which you access from the bottom. You take the nut off the bottom and drive this bolt out. And then there's a bolt going through here, which once again you also access from the bottom. And then you need to remove this bracket itself, at which point you can press out the link and press in the new one. So the first thing to do is to get under the car and remove this nut here. This is the nut with the bolt that goes through the end link. And then you want to drive that bolt out. So, for lack of a better option, I'm only going to take the nut off part way to just to the point where I'm protecting the threads here, and then I'm going to hammer the bolt out with a hammer. And like I said, I'm leaving the nut on to protect the bolt threads. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And just for reference, this is an 18mm nut. And once you have this bolt removed, you remove this one here, also 18mm. And once you have this bolt out, you remove the 3 bolts holding on the main bracket there. These are 17mm. And once those bolts are out, this bracket just kind of hangs out of the way, and I think it gives you more than enough clearance to work. If I discover otherwise, I will show you differently. Now, this is the part of the procedure where if you go searching online for DIY information, you'll see a lot of people have some unfortunately creative means of pulling the delta link or end link out of the suspension arm here. Some of these may work, but every single one of these DIYs that I've seen looks pretty dangerous. So I'm going to show you this procedure with the factory approved tool. The tool itself costs over $100, but you have to think about it in the context of what's it going to cost you to get this replaced at a shop. I think using the proper tool is the way to go here. That being said, give me a second, I'll show you the tool. So this is it. This is Volvo tool 9995497. And if you give me just a moment, I'll show you how to position it to remove the end link. Now, if you look here on what I'm going to call the clamp end of the tool, you're going to see this nub. And this is important, and I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, so once again, here's the suspension arm. Now the clamp goes around here, and that nub sits in this hole right here. You put the clamp end there, make sure the nub is seated in that hole, and then tighten the bolt down up top so the clamp grabs and holds the rear suspension arm. And then position the claw end of the tool so it's grabbing the end link right there. And if you just give me a moment to set it up, I'll show you what it looks like before I get started. Okay, this is the tool set up, and I'm ready to press out the end link. And you can see here, all you need is a 1/2-inch drive ratchet to pull that out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so here you can clearly see the end link was completely destroyed. Now here's the piece that goes in the center, and as you can see it's completely separated from the rubber there. Nothing was in danger of falling off the car, but this was the cause of all the clunking. And even this plastic bushing here didn't survive removal. Here's the new one, and as best I can tell, you can see that there's a kind of a tall, fat end and a short, skinny end on the piece where it mounts to the body. As best I can tell, the taller, fatter end goes towards the floor of the car. So I'm gonna get this set up and I'm gonna position the tool to install this now. And this time the claws are going to be placed on this end. But, you know, I'll set up the tool and I'll show you how it is before I drive this in. Okay, now here's the tool set up to drive in the new end link. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And once you have the new link pressed in, the rest of this is pretty much the reverse of disassembly. And I'm actually going to start by bolting in or bolting the end link to the suspension arm here, just to make sure everything lines up correctly. Like I said, I'm going to put this bolt in and tighten it down. My sources tell me that the torque for that is 65 Newton meters plus 120 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Next, I'm going to bolt up the bracket again, and my sources tell me that the torque on that is 65 Newton meters plus another 60 degrees on those 3 bolts. Finally, you install this bolt here, the main end link to chassis bolt, and then once again my sources give a torque of 105 Newton meters plus another 90 degrees. So, once that's done, all you have to do is put the wheel back on, lower the car, and you're good to go. So this is Mercedes Diesel Guy. Thanks for watching.